Area of high pressure move away. A big area of low pressure then in the Atlantic will throw some weather systems into the UK. Now, as that wet weather hits the colder air across Scotland, there could be a bit of transient snow over the higher ground. Pretty wet conditions developing quite widely around the west. I think towards eastern and southeastern areas it stay largely dry until later in the day. A blustery wind developing, but temperatures will start to creep up to about 11 or 12 degrees, although they're still a little bit chilly across the far east. Now, for the rest of the week, it remains pretty unsettled, although you notice those temperatures will continue to climb. So by Thursday, we could see the temperatures rising to about 16, 17, maybe even 18 degrees Celsius. So just a temporary blip of cold weather before it turns milder again. Goodbye.
In the aftermath of the devastating earthquake, what's next for the survivors in Turkey and Syria?
Down there are small children removing the rubble.
What we've just been finding as we've spoken to people is that they are desperate.
President Erdogan is promising everyone a new home within a year. That's optimistic.
See the headlines as they happen with breaking news alerts in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.
I want to talk to you about the politics of this. Did she not think she was going to get that question?
It's important to remember that this is a negotiation.
It's a good photo of.
I have an opportunity to create chaos.
There is always an email. We are so insignificant in this cosmos. Do you want some facts on baguettes? I'm just feeding you the stories. Maybe this is the context.
News in depth. The Context, tomorrow at 9 on the BBC News Channel.
Why not lift a living income so people could afford the basics?
It's always a compromise, and compromises mean that some people get more and others get less.
Far too simplistic. That is not how the world works.
First of all, thank you for explaining. Did he mislead Parliament? My view is he didn't.
It's always somebody else's fault.
Whatever side you're on.
Parliamentary democracy, that does matter.
The conversation starts here.
Let's start with this breaking news.
Politics Live, tomorrow at 12:15 on BBC Two and iPlayer.
For the latest news and analysis, watch BBC News programmes and investigations on BBC iPlayer.
When the weather can't make up its mind, we can help you make up yours. Check on the BBC Weather app.
Hello, I'm Ross Atkins with Outside Source. This is the extraordinary story of climate change. Vaccines, Europe, the Taliban, Ukraine. Symbolically, it's very important. Let's take this stage by stage. Here's the BBC's Stephen McDonald in Beijing. The West has stepped up sanctions against Russia. Let's look at some of the international reaction. Tell us what you've been hearing. In practical terms, what does that mean? Next, we have to step back and let's just remind ourselves this is all part of the same story.
Piece the story together with Ross Atkins. Outside Source, tomorrow at 7 on the BBC News Channel.
This is BBC News. Welcome if you're watching here in the UK or around the globe. I'm Frankie McCamley. Our top stories. Ukraine accuses Vladimir Putin of making Belarus a nuclear hostage after the Russian leader said he would station nuclear weapons there. A state of emergency in Mississippi after a powerful tornado kills at least 26 people.
As soon as we would go from one vehicle to the next vehicle or from building to building, we could hear screams and we could hear cries for help.
Voters in Berlin are to decide whether Germany's capital should be carbon neutral by 2030. And Donald Trump heads to Texas to start his campaign to win back the US presidency in 2024. Hello. Ukrainian security officials have accused Russia of depriving Belarus of its sovereignty after President Putin said he would station nuclear weapons there. The Secretary of the National Defense Council said on Twitter that the move was a step towards internal destabilization of Belarus. And he said the Kremlin had taken the country as a nuclear hostage. Ukraine says the deployment violates non-proliferation commitments, something Mr. Putin has denied.
We have already transferred to Belarus our well-known, very effective complex